Good evening, and welcome to the 2015 Big Bang Gala supporting the California Academy of Sciences. I am Jerome Vassalaro, and I have the privilege to be chair of the Board of Trustees of the Academy. And on behalf of my fellow trustees and the entire Academy family, I want to welcome you and thank you for your most generous support of our mission to explore, explain, and sustain life on Earth. In April of 1853, 7 scientists met downtown on Montgomery Street and created the California Academy of Natural Sciences for the free exchange of views. Throughout our 162-year history, the Academy has played a prominent role in studying science, explaining it to the community, and trying to solve the problems of the day. Tonight, the theme continues that tradition. Hopefully, each of you had a chance to participate in one of 2 of the illuminating conversations, either the important role of science education in tackling the global problems we face today, or making science education accessible to all. The Academy opened its first museum in 1874 on Market Street. At the time, Charles Darwin was actually a member. I think he's up on his dues, anyway. If not, we're going to get him. As you all know, the Academy suffered badly in the great earthquake and fire of 1906, and the trustees at that time had to decide whether to repair or rebuild. They decided to move the Academy here to Golden Gate Park, and it opened in 1916. Over the early part of the 20th century, through great philanthropists and supporters, the Academy grew to include a natural history museum, the Steinhardt Aquarium, and the Morris Planetarium. I'm sure many of you remember fondly childhood field trips to the Academy, because I see a show of hands of how many people came here when they were a child here in San Francisco. Well, we should do a little bit better. All right, we'll do a little better. Well then, as you all know, in 1989, another earthquake hit. That time, we damaged the building quite severely here in Golden Gate Park, and the trustees were once again faced with the decision of whether to repair or rebuild. Their decision was clear and quite inspiring. This magnificent building opened in September of 2008 and really does declare our 21st century aspirations. Tonight, we celebrate the part of our mission to educate and illuminate. This building vividly demonstrates the passion and commitment we have to our mission. However, the people inside these walls are really what make it special, and I'd like to thank several of them this evening. The first person I'd like to thank is John Atwater, the Academy's former chair of the board, for his incredible service, generosity, and vision for the Academy. While chairman of the board, John guided the Academy to great success and reached out to many throughout the Bay Area to spread the message and the good work of the Academy. Thanks to John and Diana for your most recent gift to support the Academy, the Robert Wilson's Dean of Education chair, held by Dr. Elizabeth Babcock, who is responsible for the Academy's many exceptional education programs. Elizabeth, where are you, Elizabeth? Please stand up wherever Elizabeth is. Over here. Thank you, John, for your indelible mark you left on the Academy, for your leadership over the last 9 years. It has been a privilege to be your friend and to follow you as chair of the board. Will you please all join me in recognizing John? I'd also like to ask all the current and former trustees of the Academy to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all for your support. Wonderful group. And then, this evening wouldn't have been possible. A lot of hard work by a lot of people. We'll talk about that later. But the dedicated staff at the Academy, the scientists, administrators, educators, docents, people who run the operations, their tireless efforts and passion for the Academy is what makes this very special. So will all the Academy staff members please stand and be recognized? And then also I'd like to thank this evening John Foley, our new Executive Director. You'll hear from John later, and you'll see his extraordinary leadership that he's already provided the Academy just in his first year. He is a distinguished scientist and a visionary leader. A little bit about this evening. I'm pleased to announce that through the generosity of the people here and others who've supported the event, we've raised over $2.1 million for the Academy tonight. And the night's not over. Just for the record, the night's not over. Tonight's event would not have been possible without extraordinary leadership and work from Kate and Bill Duhamel, our Big Bang Gala chairs. And Kate, will you please join me up here on stage, say a few words, and take our thanks. Kate?
Thank you. I'd like to thank my co-chair, Academy trustee and husband, Bill Duhamel, for helping lead this year's charge. We're particularly honored to chair this year with its focus on education. One of my first experiences with Cal Academy was walking on an upper floor and looking down at thousands of little creatures moving around like ants in a colony. But these creatures were of the human sort known as children. It was impressive to see the numbers here that day and to know that this happens here every day of the week. We are particularly proud of the enriching role the Academy can play in the larger educational context in our city and beyond, and of how impactful a visit here in person or virtually, as you'll see later in the video tonight, can be for students of all ages. I also want to give a special thanks to our Big Bang honorary co-chairs, Matt and Janice Barger. John Atwater and Diana Nelson. Randy and Bob Fisher. We also want to thank this year's corporate chairs, Oliver Jenkin of Visa and Geisha Williams of PG&E. And PG&E was our presenting sponsor tonight, so a very special thank you to them. And additional thanks to Franklin Templeton Investments and Carmel Partners, and to all of our corporate sponsors. And thank you to all of you for coming out tonight and supporting Cal Academy at this big gala. And we also want to mention the brightest sparks in education who we've been had the wonderful opportunity to listen to tonight at our talks. Larry Brilliant, Janet Napolitano, Adam Messenger, Lila Jana, Sal Khan, Milton Chen. We also want to recognize Supervisor Eric Marr, who's a special friend of the Academy and who's here tonight. So please enjoy your dinner, and we'll be back to say a few more words after. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I know you're having all the wonderful conversations and a scintillating evening here, of course, but we have a little business to do tonight, so I'd like to get started with that. I'm John Foley. I'm the new Executive Director of the California Academy of Sciences, and all right, thank you. I'm having so much fun, I'm losing my voice tonight a little bit, so sorry about that. First of all, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight to really help us in our mission to explore, explain, and sustain life. It's a mission that really is so timely in this time in human history. There's never been a more important time to be thinking about science, science education, and sustaining life on this planet than this moment in history. We are being entrusted with the most important period of our civilization and to figure out what we're going to do with it. How are we going to leave behind a planet that's better, smarter, and more sustainable than the one we inherited from our parents? And so that's our job here every day at the Cal Academy, and I'm really proud to lead this organization. So thank you. I've been on this job about 8 months now, and I really want to thank Jerome Vassalero, who spoke earlier, my kind of partner in crime here at the Academy, our board chairman, and also our entire board of trustees for their confidence in the institution and for bringing me here to the Academy. It has been just an incredible and wonderful adventure being here at the California Academy. And again, thinking about how will we be the world's first sustainability museum? How will we think about education to radically transform the world to make it a better and more prosperous and more sustainable place for the future? I can't think of a more noble thing to do every morning when I get up and go to work. So thank you again to all of our trustees for that incredible opportunity. But I do have to tell you, it is kind of a strange job to work at the Academy. You may not realize it, but it's a very, very interesting place. So I probably should keep a diary and write a memoir someday, because in the last week, I've learned how we give a physical to an alligator, how we actually remove Claude from his tank and take him to a spa, basically, and give him a physical and do medical procedures on him and bring him back. I never learned that in graduate school. That was pretty interesting. Or what do you do with a multi-ton sperm whale that washes up on the California coast? Whenever that happens, we get a call and we do the life history and try to find the cause of death of why did this whale die. You may not realize that, but the Cal Academy plays a hugely important role in that kind of work. We've actually changed the shipping lanes between California and China to avoid striking whales. That's the kind of impact we've had here at the Academy. I've learned what you do with the remains of whales, by the way, which is very strange. You may not realize it, but on the roof of this building tonight is buried under the soil the part of the jawbone of a sperm whale that we just buried a few days ago. Okay, everybody stop eating all of a sudden. What's going on? But, it's pretty interesting stuff you learn here. And also I've learned, how you kind of care for 1.5 million people who go through our doors each and every year, which is a really extraordinary thing. You may not realize it, but this is the single largest cultural attraction in the Bay Area, and we have the highest visitor satisfaction of any museum west of the Rockies, which is something I'm really proud to report this year. So good job, everybody. Now, what we're about here tonight is really about education. As you know, our Academy Gala is really focused on science and on education, and next year we'll be focusing on sustainability, but tonight we're here to talk about the importance of education. And I'm going to tell you just kind of a personal story, I guess, about this. When I was first offered this job, which was kind of strange because I'd never worked in a museum before in my life, and they asked me to run one, so I thought they were crazy people here. But I came here with my family, and I came to the Academy, and nobody knew who I was. It was still all secret, and I came here with my family, and we walked through the museum. And about 45 minutes into the visit, my oldest daughter tapped me on the shoulder, and she looked at me and said, "Dad, if you don't take this job, I'm going to kick your ass." And, sorry for my language, but she's like 18. What are you going to do? And I looked at her and I thought, oh, great. He goes, oh, you want your dad to work at the Academy because you think it's cool. And she said, yeah, Dad, but I haven't seen you this happy in my entire life. You are lighting up. This place is like magic. And I looked at her and I'm like, really? And I looked at my wife and she nodded and said, absolutely, this place is magical. How could you not want to work here? And that word magic really resonated with me. They were absolutely right. This place is magic. All of the institutions like this, whether it's a park, a museum, a zoo, an aquarium, they are places that create magic. They transform people and they take people to places they normally can't go. So this is something that is important to everybody here. And the reason I love this job so much is because I'm a wonder junkie. I think a lot of you are, but we are inspired by the wonders of nature, the wonders of science, and that ultimately is what leads to profound impacts in education. One of the things that's so amazing is that You know, I grew up on the coast of Maine, and my best science teacher was going outside. It was going to the ocean. It was going to look at the stars at night. And we could recreate that for people by the millions in this building and through our programming around the world. And so it's that awe-inspiring moment when you see a coral reef, when you see a planetarium show, or you go on a tour with a scientist and learn about the wonders of nature. That's where those lessons about science, nature, and STEM education really sink in. And research actually shows that 70% of what Americans do know about science, which isn't enough, but 70% of what Americans actually learn about science isn't learned in the classroom. It's learned in a park. It's learned in a museum. It's learned in an aquarium. It's learned at places like the Cal Academy and Golden Gate Park. That's why this is so important. We take what you learn in the classroom and cement it into a personal experience, into something real, tangible, and authentic. Earlier this evening, people asked, you know, how many of you grew up coming to the Academy? What's amazing is all of you will remember that. You remember that field trip you took here when you were a kid. You will remember it for the rest of your life. How many of you can remember the algebra lesson you had in 7th grade? I mean, maybe you do. Good for you. But but you probably remember the field trip to the museum or to the aquarium you took the very first time. So the point here is that we create wonder and opportunity for learning that cements what our friends in K-12 classrooms struggle with every day and work so hard at. We help them in a partnership between K-12 education and the museum to create an authentic kind of capstone to their science education to make it a real, living, lifelong lesson. And that's something we're incredibly proud to do every single day here at the Academy with the biggest numbers of anyone in Northern California. So we're really excited about that. Now tonight we're going to be talking about one particular area we do about school field trips. And you'll see in a little while a little video about these things. But we serve over 150,000 children here every year for field trips. And you know what? We make sure they are absolutely free for every child in San Francisco. Every single one. We do this free for every child in San Francisco, for deep discounts for every child across the Bay Area, and it's only possible because of the generosity of this community. I really want to take a moment to thank the people who've made this possible. We invest over $3 million a year in that free programming. That's money we could make, but we don't. We serve our community, we believe in that mission, and so we need the help of a lot of people here and across the city to make that possible, to give away that resource, to make sure that that opportunity to be transformed by science is available to everyone in the city, not just those who are wealthy or fortunate, but to every single child. And we're really proud that a number of people in this room have joined us in that mission. Bill and Sacco Fisher, for example, and the Sakana Foundation. I'd really like to thank them for their support of this mission. That's incredible. I'd also like to take a special moment to thank Randy and Bob Fisher and the Pisces Foundation for their huge commitment to education here at the Academy. Many of you know Randy Fisher, who's been a trustee of the Academy for many years. She and Bob and their colleagues of the Pisces Foundation have enabled us to transform our educational mission to not only serve people in San Francisco, but across the world, and pivoting to a global academy of outreach and education. We've also partnered with Saul Khan, who is here this evening, on doing work with the Khan Academy on creating online courses and making sure our experience can be shared not only in these walls, but beyond these walls as well. And Randy and Bob and the Pisces Foundation have made that possible. So thank you very much to them for that. So this evening we're going to talk again about these school field trips and how crucial they are to cementing science education as an authentic, real experience. And our good friend Mark Buell will be up here in a minute. As many of you have been to these events before, Mark is our master of ceremony for our kind of fundraising part of the evening. And Mark is just wonderful, and he's an inspiring leader in the community. Many of you know him already. But by day, Mark is a superhero. By day, he's unassuming, mild-mannered president of the San Francisco Rec and Park Department, which is incredible, and we should thank him for his service to Rec and Park here. Thank you, Mark, for that. And by night, he and his wife Susie, who I had just some wonderful conversations with, are longtime supporters of the Academy and so many other wonderful philanthropic activities here in the city. So I'd like to thank them both for their leadership in the city and everything that they do. Finally, we're going to show a little video about our field trip program to help inform you, and I'll hand it over to Mark. But I want to just end with one last little personal note. So tonight is my youngest daughter's birthday. Yeah, it's very sweet. And my, thank you. I had nothing to do with it. My wife did all the work, at least 14 years ago. I did a little bit, but no. And what's kind of strange is my older daughter's birthday is tomorrow, and they're 5 years apart. I don't know how that, well, I do know how that happened, but I'm not sure why, but anyway. So in honor of them, I've been thinking very hard about a nice birthday present for my daughters, who I'll see tomorrow. They're still living in Minneapolis as they're finishing up school and coming here this year. And I've been thinking hard and long about, like, I could get them another toy, another gizmo or whatever, but I want to make a gift in honor of my two daughters, who I love dearly, for this program, this field trip program. So my wife and I want to kick us off tonight, Mark. We're going to be pledging $10,000 to the field trip program in honor of my two daughters. So maybe that can start us off for the evening. And with that, I think with that, I'd like to thank you for being here this evening, and we'll show a very short video, and then Mark will take it away and hopefully add to that initial pledge we just made. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Let there be light. I'm Mark Buell. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have another sip of wine. I got something I want to talk to you about. I'm joined by Virginia Tusher, who's going to be my Vanna White and explain to you how to work that technology equipment on your table. Before I do that, though, I do want to make the observation that for those of you who were fortunate enough to hear Milton Chen in discussion with Larry Brilliant and Janet Napolitano, you would have heard exactly the solution to the problem that we're facing in America is giving these kids this education around science and technology. And I hope Janet took note that the Academy does that for free for 150,000 students, and nothing could be more important than to give them that kind of access. You will be funding tonight that very thing. So every dollar you give, matched by a dollar by PG&E, will address in the most direct way one of the biggest needs we have. So I want you to be generous. Now comes the explanation of the technology. Virginia, I will read, you will demonstrate, and you all, none of you are technically challenged. Well, we've used these before, okay? All I have to do is find the instructions. There are 4 BlackBerry-like devices on your table. Please share. Sharing is caring. You remember that? Take out the smart card you received at check-in. Insert it into the top of the device with a chip at the bottom and facing you. Chip at the bottom and facing you. If you've done this correctly, your name will appear on the screen. Press, now I want full attention, press the green donate button, then press it again. Now enter the donation amount using the top row of numerals, no decimals. No decimals. See, I know you want to give $1 million, but you can give 100,000 by not using the decimals. Okay? Double check your amount. If it's correct, press the green button again. So it's 2 presses on the green, enter the amount, then press the green, and your name is going to show up on the screen, and no one's going to mention how much, so you can give that 100,000 and they'll never know. Now, in the event that the number's incorrect, use the delete button on the right to change your pledge. We have volunteers stationed all over the room for those of you who might be technically challenged. Now, as you do this, how are we doing, Virginia?
I think well.
Virginia made a donation.
I think they're scrolling up, so we're in this.
Names are scrolling up. You're doing a wonderful job. Now we know that PG&E is matching up to $100,000. I would like to inform you of some other people who couldn't be here tonight that have made a donation. Arthur and Tony Remby Rock, $10,000 for this program. Let's hear it for them. Marcia and John Goldman, $5,000. Gretchen Kimball, $5,000. Dee Dee Wilsey, $2,500. And Adrian Zillman, $1,000. And with John Foley's $10,000, how about that? John Foley, missing his daughter's birthday to be here, giving $10,000. That's $33,500 already raised before all these wonderful names showing up on the board. 200,000, is it telling us? Is that a fact? Oh, we'll keep it going. This is fantastic. I get 0% of this, so give some more. And have another drink. And please thank Vanna White, Virginia Tusher for helping me demonstrate how this works. She is a trustee of the Academy as well, I might add. Thank you, Virginia. Not at all. And if you see a number, yell it out to me at what we're up to.
I'll go check right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're only to a paltry $250,000, 254,000. That's fantastic, but let's keep it going. One more drink of wine and it'll be 300,000. You can also give twice or 3 times. $291 and rolling. Keep it going. $319 and rolling. Keep going. I love seeing those names. Keep them going. I got a big announcement for you. We're at 327,000, and that does not include the matching money. Let's keep going. I think if we can get to 4 with the match, we're at $500,000. It'll break the record. Anybody who wants to put that card back in the machine and do it again, we're going to get to that 400,000. Be generous. It's your chance. It's education. It's immediate. It works. We love you. Keep those cards and letters coming in. Now, how about all these?
I don't know. Let me go find out.
Find out, thanks. Oh, perfect. So I've just been informed that a few people have let us know that their employers will match whatever they give. So if you have an employer who's willing to match that, it all counts, right? So that's 10, 20, 23.
So we're with another 20. Yeah, we're at 370-ish. So we're very, very close. We're within striking distance. I think you ought to call pretty soon.
All right, I have good news for you. With those people who gave absent, the absent donors have now been added to my list. Coupled with what's up there in PG&E, we're at $500,000. Give yourselves a hand. And please leave the devices and leave your cards behind, okay? They reuse those cards, so leave the devices and leave the cards. This concludes the formal program. There's dancing, there's drinking, there's partying, and thank you all for being so generous.